I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we explore a riveting alternate history with Eric Hausker. He's the author of a fantastic book. It is called Greater Germany. In this thought-provoking novel, Hausker envisions a 1989 Central Europe dramatically altered by the early demise of Adolf Hitler, presenting a world where Germany redefines its borders and power. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Eric, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan.
This is such an inventive book. Tell me, what was your inspiration?
Well, having grown up as a baby boomer with a father who served in the military, just like millions of boys born in the 50s, we were saturated with lore about World War II from a very early age. There were TV shows and documentaries and movies like Battle of the Bulge, A Bridge Too Far, The Longest Day. So we kind of absorbed a lot of this almost against our will. It was just sort of saturating us. As I read more about the war, I began to find very fascinating some of the speculations about what would have happened if this mistake had not been made, if that mistake had not been made, and how that would have affected the course and the outcome of the war, which did not necessarily have to result in the complete destruction and occupation of Germany. I read about the German resistance as I learned German in high school, and read in both languages about it. And there were 3 attempts to kill him, and none of them succeeded. The one we're most familiar with is Valkyrie with Tom Cruise about 10 years ago. The middle event, which did not kill Hitler, occurred in March of 1943. And I just began speculating what would have happened if Hitler did not live another 2 years to lead his nation into destruction. So I just started speculating and pondering, and pretty soon I found myself writing this novel. And I know that there was a market for alternative fiction, and there are many books written about, alternative war endings, including the Civil War, World War II, all kinds of things. So this is kind of my motivation.
Exactly. And we have Men in the High Castle, I think it's called, where Hitler lived and actually took over the United States. And that's a frightening prospect. Tell us what life would be like, according to your book, if Hitler had actually died in 1943.
Okay, well, as I develop the plot in my book, the German generals take over. They are terrified of a 2-front war. So they begin to send peace feelers out to the Western Allies. They know that they will have to face the Soviet onslaught from Joseph Stalin very soon. So after the Africa Corps surrenders, 2 months after my Hitler dies, the Western Allies began to listen to these peace feelers and think that it might be a good way to end the war without a great deal of additional bloodshed and casualties, because they still had to deal with the Japanese in the Pacific. So the Germans withdraw from Western Europe and concentrate all their forces on the Eastern Front, and they are successfully able to stop the Soviets before they burst into Poland, Romania, Austria, and they are defeated. So a new country is formed consisting of Poland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, and of course Germany, and it is called Großdeutschland, or Greater Germany. And the Nazis eventually lose their paramount position in German politics, and Germany becomes a right-wing military-style government. And they realize that it'd be best to treat the Poles and the Czechs better than they were treated under Nazi Germany. So life becomes a little bit better. There are blandishments for the Poles to behave. And it's interesting because I spoke to 2 people in Warsaw whom I contacted via a Polish language tutoring site. And I paid them to read my manuscript and comment on it. And they said it sounded quite plausible. that Polish people would have, if Poland was not to be free, they would have preferred Germans over Russians. Of course, Russia tried to impose communism on a Catholic country.
Right.
Germany, in my book, is not trying to do this. They just want to help themselves to the Polish farmland,
resources, and so
there's food and medicine and peace, and it becomes very difficult for Poles to think about resistance. But one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to build up a female hero, a heroine, because I know from the rest of the history reading that I've done, and I'm not a military historian, I'm not a military buff, and I'm not an amateur historian, but I have read that there are many cases where women, young women, have been ready to put themselves in harm's way to fight oppression and tyranny. So I developed it was a lot of fun developing her character. And a Polish lady in Warsaw, one of my tutors, said, she sounds very believable. So I took it from there.
It's a great premise, that's for sure. Have you envisioned this story as a movie?
I think it could be a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
It would have very little production costs because there's no big battle scenes or anything.
Yeah.
It would not require, acres and acres of things blowing up. Could probably be done quite cheaply.
Right. Well, I think big budget or small budget, I think it'd be a fantastic movie because, like you said, Valkyrie made a great film. And in that case, the assassination attempt did not work. In your case, it does work, and it presents a whole nother twist, right?
Well, he escaped by a hair, as I described in the opening chapter. That was a bomb inside a champagne bottle. The inner workings of the bomb functioned perfectly, except the detonator did not explode. And again, this is historical record from the story of the man who did it. And amazingly, the man who set up this bomb survived the war. And he went on to become a judge in West Germany. And of course, he was considered a hero for having resisted Hitler. I am working on a sequel.
Okay, great. Tell us about that.
Too long, and it's just when you have free license to develop history as any way you want, it's an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about the story that unfolds in the second installment?
In my sequel?
Yep.
Well, I don't want to give a spoiler alert.
Don't give away
the first one
too much. You can give us a broad overview.
The Polish resistance will continue, and the Western allies, such as they are, they're not NATO or anything, but the French, British, and American governments will warn the Germans, do not undertake any bloody crackdown in Poland, or there will be economic sanctions. And my hero, who worked with my heroine, will escape to another country and be received by the US Embassy. And he will have all kinds of stories to tell because Germany keeps Poland under wraps as much as possible. The Western countries do not know too much about what is going on there, except for the fact that retired SS men who are now in their 70s and 80s are claiming Polish farmland. And of course, this is the whole idea behind living space, which Hitler talked about in Mein Kampf. We have to move east and take these countries over for our agricultural development.
Sounds great. Looking forward to that book coming out. Is Greater Germany the first time you wrote a novel?
It's my first attempt at a novel. I've written poetry, short stories a long time ago, but this is it.
What was that writing process like for you? Tell us about that. Were you up every morning early doing it, or did you do it just when the feeling moved you? Tell us a little bit about writing this book.
Well, I was raising a family years ago, and I somehow found time between 10 p.m. and midnight to type this all out on an old word processor.
Yeah.
And then finally, when I retired several years ago, I had time to really polish the manuscript. And it is presently for sale on Amazon. I've been told that there are plans through my publishing agent to translate it into German. That has not happened yet, but I'm hopeful that this will eventually get broader distribution.
That's
It's
wonderful.
a
Well,
lot of
looking
fun.
forward to that as well. It's amazing when you find an old manuscript that you worked on and you start reading it, you've forgotten so much of what's in there. And then you're like, this is pretty good. Did I write that? Did you get that kind of feeling?
I did, but I realized, boy, I gotta correct a lot of typos from many years ago
Yeah.
and flesh it out a little bit here and pare it down a little bit here. And I've gotten some good feedback from friends and family who've read the whole thing, and I got one very nice review on Amazon.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, the book is out there now. The work is out there. So hopefully the word spreads. You're on TV now, so that hopefully will spread the word as well. Eric Hausker has written a terrific book. It is called Greater Germany. It's a thought-provoking novel. It envisions a 1989 Central Europe dramatically altered by the early demise of Adolf Hitler, presenting a world where Germany redefines its borders and power. It's based on fact. It's fiction, however. It's an alternate reality, and it is absolutely fascinating. And if you love this book, just wait. More is to come. Eric is already in the work on a sequel. We're looking forward to it. In Hollywood, if you're listening, this would be a great film. Eric, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Well, thanks for plugging my book.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on
Okay.
Spotlight.